vile messages to me. I got one person that literally was a friend of mine. Now we're not friends at all. Continues. I don't know why. You are obsessed with me. You message me all the time. You are obsessed with me. But messaging me all the time and said, "Can you answer this? Can you answer this?" No. Can you fucking answer this? Can you answer this? I want to go back to the article, Maz. I want to pull that back up, and I want to look at the actual filing because I wanted to go down to line 32. And it's funny that we were just talking about intoxication level. So let me go to line 32. And I thought this was kind of interesting. So it says here, I don't know if you can see it. Okay. So it says here, after JJ got out of the defendant Reed's vehicle in front of 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022, Reed drove her SUV and hit JJ. Well, this is kind of funny that they're saying that. Report today, not too long ago, just a few hours ago, Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney, reported that Trooper Paul may not be returning for the Commonwealth in the second trial, that they are going to shop around and essentially try to find an expert and pay this expert to come up and lie for the Commonwealth and deceive everybody in this trial because Trooper Paul could not get the job done because the guy's not qualified. He's not a crash expert, okay? But I find this funny because they're claiming here in the civil lawsuit that there was an accident. Trooper Paul, their guy, Maz, their guy got up there, didn't prove a fucking accident, and then we had ARCA at the end that essentially crushed Trooper Paul's testimony and made him look like a bigger ass than he really was during the trial. And I find it funny now inside this, line 32, they're saying that Karen hit John with her SUV. What do you think about all this? Trooper Paul not coming back.
Oh, geez. Well, I think someone said it best today. They go, whether or not the Commonwealth wants to call him back is one thing, but additionally, Nick Rocco just wants me to check my email. Sorry.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. Additionally,
hey, Nick,
the defense is probably going to end up calling him to whatever. I'll let you take over just one second. I just want to read this.
Yeah. So I'll read through a little bit of this here. So it goes on. It says at all relevant times, this is line 33, at all relevant times on January 29, 2022, defendant Reed drove her SUV in the state of intoxication. Well, they never proved that. As a result of Reed's SUV hitting JJ on January 29, 22, JJ was knocked down onto the ground in front of 34 Fairview, suffering serious injuries and died. How do you know that? How do they know that?
Yeah.
How can they prove that? They didn't prove it during the criminal trial. Where's the evidence that proves that? After hitting JJ with her SUV, defendant Reed fled the scene and returned to JJ's residence at One Meadows Ave. At all relevant times, defendant Reed knew that it was snowing, knew there was an impending blizzard, and knew or should have known that leaving JJ outside in the blizzard would likely result in serious injury or death. This lawsuit's crazy. I think it's funny. At the relevant time when defendant Reed drove her SUV and hit JJ, defendant Reed failed to use any care to avoid creating unreasonable risk and harm. How about this? How about you go after the fucking people that live inside? We're at 34 Fairview. How about that? Right. How about going after Brian Albert, knowing that John O'Keefe was on that front lawn, didn't even come out when paramedics arrived and emergency first responders I'll get this out. Arrived on scene. I'm pissed about this, Maz. How about suing them? How about saying, hey, you didn't even come out to check on my brother? I've never even heard a question of that, Maz. Well, exactly, Brian. Why isn't Paul suing the Alberts? I mean, really? I mean, he's outside at the house. You knew he was there. First responders show up. You don't come out of your house. I'm sorry, Maz. Sorry, brother. Like, I would probably question and go, if I was Paul, I would have a hard conversation with Brian Albert and go, why didn't you fucking come out of the house? What's wrong with you?
Right, sure.
Why didn't you come out and check on my brother? You knew he was out there. This first responded. Oh, you didn't hear anything. You didn't hear anything until Jennifer McCabe's ran upstairs, and we don't know what Chloe was to alert anybody, and that's when you found out. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go with that.
If I was sitting in their position, I'd want answers out of everybody. That includes Karen, of course, and everybody to say, what happened here, what's going on here, especially the Canton Police Department. If, for example, they made a lot of claims. Fire departments, EMTs made a lot of claims. You have evidence that wasn't properly stored here. I mean, if my family member or even friend or anyone was ever in a situation where they lost their life, and this research of their crime scene investigation was like this, where it was so unable to be well secured, I would be furious about this, and I would be absolutely asking questions of the CPD and homeowners and neighbors as well. Why didn't the Canton Police Department ask for ring footage from not only the people that live nearby, but a couple houses down the street?
That would settle the case. And I said this in the very beginning of the trial. If this happened, and I think it's so convenient, and I fucking say this to all the people, and I know I'm swearing tonight, I'm worked up tonight. I say this to all the people out there that question, that literally message vile messages to me. I got one person that literally was a friend of mine. Now we're not friends at all. Continues. I don't know why. You are obsessed with me. You message me all the time. You are obsessed with me. But messaging me all the time and said, can you answer this? Can you answer this? No. Can you fucking answer this? Can you answer this? If you wanted to nail Karen Reed down, then why did no camera on that street conveniently not work that night? Conveniently not work. Because you know why? Because if they fucking had the footage and the footage was available, you'd see them dragging a dead body out and leaving on the front lawn, John O'Keefe on the front lawn, to die out there in the cold. That's why. Answer me that. Answer me that. I'm tired of it. This guy messages me all the time. Can you answer this? Can you answer this? Can you answer this? No, you answer this. Why is there no video? Why is there no video? No one's camera that night worked at all. Didn't work. Oh, it didn't work. Didn't know. Oh, there was a problem with it. Didn't work. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I don't know. I'm worked up tonight.
That's all right. Hey, these rants need to happen, quite frankly. So good for you, brother. And additionally, why did the Canton Police Department go a couple of houses down and ask certain neighbors who had ring footage of anything that they had, even houses that would have picked up her taillight on the way out? There's none of that at all.
It's gone. It's erased.
Aiden and one of his colleagues knocked on a couple doors, and they knocked on this guy's door and talked to him through his doorbell, ring camera, whatever it was. And the guy goes, no, nobody from the Canton Police Department ever knocked on my door asking me for any footage that I had that night. Aiden goes, no further questions. It's absolutely insane. And that's the big picture. The biggest problem with this whole thing is what's missing. Why is there library footage missing? Why is that gone?
Why is the taillight video inverted? And there's literally apparitions that are, jumping time. I feel like I'm watching Doctor Who. I feel like I'm watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and they're gonna jump inside the phone booth and fucking warp over to the next. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Insane. It's insane. And these are all obvious things. Anybody with any kind of logical mind or assessment of this particular case can look at certain things, and there's obvious holes that stand out to you. Why is there no footage of the taillight from any of the houses, right? There's none of that. The library camera, the only camera footage that we legitimately got was outside of John O'Keefe's home in One Meadow Lane, where Karen Reed backs into the vehicle, and there's a crack clearly caused by that, but the taillight is intact at that particular time. When the vehicle is towed away in Dighton during the snowstorm, and they put the vehicle on the back of the flatbed and they're towing it up, not only is that taillight intact, the taillight is lit up on the far right side. It's absolutely perfectly fine. And you can't sit there and tell me or anybody else that taillight was shattered at any point from the time she left One Meadow Lane to the time that vehicle was picked up in Dighton. But yet, magically, at a certain particular time and place, all of a sudden there's this taillight all over the place, like someone's throwing Lucky Charms all over the place, like it's one of those commercials, it's just throw the Lucky Charms all over the place and sprinkle taillight everywhere, here and there, like they're throwing magic dust around.
Like, it's absolutely, what is it? Dave Chappelle, just sprinkle some crack on them. Sprinkle crack.
right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, the taillight, and then the taillight whisperer came along and found all the pieces, and the crime scene spoke to Trooper Paul. It was a crime. Spoke to me. But no, seriously, I keep going back to this. I always constantly get challenged. these people that like think that I'm nuts. I'm like, no, you're nuts. And they're like, oh, well, can you explain this? Can you explain that? No, let me explain one thing. This trial would have been over in one sentence. The Commonwealth could have got up there, had a TV right there where it was the whole time, and said, Karen Read hit and killed John O'Keefe. Plays the video. Trial over. Trial over. But no camera work that night. No camera here. No camera across the street. No camera there. You know, no one's camera worked. So, yeah, because we know why.
Yeah.
The video footage was erased.
And then the Sally Port, to get the Sally Port, and hey, you know, occasionally, you know, footage just happens to go missing during specific periods of the. I mean, these things just happen.
48 minutes, 52 minutes.
Well, you know how security cameras work. There's always like a couple minutes every hour where it just magically disappears during, you know, very complex times. You know, it just always happens to happen right at that exact perfect moment. Here it is, and oh yeah, you know, every night at the Sally Port, that camera's been doing that since 1982. You know, geez, I mean, and then it gets back to the point. Why did the Massachusetts State Police take over? Let me ask you this question. Yeah. Imagine if the FBI had shown up to that scene. So let's say it was the Canton Police Department, then the Massachusetts State Police.
Maybe it should have.
And then the FBI comes in. Let's say the FBI, like in Die Hard, you know, FBI took over for the LAPD in that movie, right? Okay, so imagine the FBI takes over in this situation. Do you think that the FBI would have taken the vehicle to the Massachusetts State Police barracks, or do you think they would have taken that vehicle back to an FBI location where they could properly do it on their own terms? Yet in this particular case, a Canton Police Department investigation, which evolves into a Massachusetts State Police investigation, now results in them going down to Dighton, towing the vehicle, taking it past a handful of Massachusetts State Police locations, because according to Trooper Paul, we just didn't have the facility that we needed. You know, and then all of a sudden they bring it up to the Canton PD, which is home base for the cover-up, where they know that nobody in the Massachusetts State Police, so they brought it back to the Massachusetts State Police, because that's the thing about this, is I think we need to remember that the Massachusetts State Police were involved in this cover-up, but the Massachusetts State Police were not involved in this cover-up. It was members of the Massachusetts State Police that were obviously had their hand in this, and they decided to take it back to home base of the cover-up, which is basically Dealey Plaza, which is the Sally Port, and go there in Canton where they knew people had a vested interest, because they couldn't take it over to the state police, because they would have been other cops there and other cameras there that they couldn't finagle, that would have said, dude, what the hell are you doing with this vehicle right now? Why are you shattering taillight? What is going on? And they would have been internally investigated a lot sooner than now.
And that's not protocol, because you know who said that? Todd McGee, sitting right there in that chair. He said that Karen Read's vehicle should have went back to a state police facility to be processed. Yeah. Isn't it convenient, Maz? Isn't it convenient? Karen Read's vehicle gets towed back to the Canton PD and sits there for almost 3 days. 3 days. And what interviews do they have within those 3 days? Who interviewed Jennifer McCabe? Who interviewed Kerry Roberts within those 3 days? Proctor. And then it's funny, right after that, they start processing the vehicle.
Yep.
I don't know. Time is a little weird on that one.
Right. You know, which ties up our whole point here, is that people are trying to say, there's people out there that actually believe that Karen Read did that, but yet we've been able to talk about all this stuff, with which most of it has been factual. The other portions of it have apparently been speculation on our part, because we're speculating particular people's involvement and what they may or may not have done. But at that particular rate, when we look at everything here, it all circles back to one thing, is that this whole case is very suspicious, and it raises questions. And you look at the amount of people that have tuned into this show, other shows, that are reading articles and going on YouTube shows and watching YouTube shows about this. Nick Rocco is going to Court TV where viewers are going to be there watching him. Yeah. You know, that's because there is a question here where people like Brian, people like myself, people like every single person that's watching this show, and every single person that supports Karen Read that's not watching the show, has sat there and said, you know what? I'm not buying this. There's something suspicious here, you know?